What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Lil Daryl. On this video today, we're gonna go over how I made $52,000 on an RBP real estate deal. Y'all heard that right. I ended the year with the biggest close that I had till date. Y'all know I've only been doing this real estate thing about a year and a half now. So this right here is my biggest deal so far. A 50 ball, 50 bands hitting the account right before the New Year's. You know, I'm actually currently in Medellin, Colombia. I had to take a trip out here just to enjoy. Y'all see the views, B&B vibes, you know what I'm saying? So, long story short, we're gonna do a case study and a breakdown on this video and how I got this deal, okay? So, we're gonna start off with the beginning, all right? Now, a lot of y'all, if y'all don't know, I do high ticket sales, okay? I do not just real estate, I do door-to-door sales. So I'm a Retillo distributor. Now Retillo is a home care system, okay? It's an air purifier, but it also cleans floors. It turns into a vacuum shampoo. It's a really diverse, unique machine, you know? So I actually met this lead, you know, because I actually knocked his door to sell him a Retillo. So I knocked his door to sell him a Retillo, and he ended up buying the Retillo from me, all right? But the very next day, he actually called me to cancel the sale, you know? He called me the next day, he was like, yeah, you know, I'm just going through a lot, I'm in a lot of debt. I don't think I can really afford this machine right now. I want to cancel, I need you to come pick it up, all right? I did the right thing, okay? A lot of sales reps would have ignored that person's call because they probably would have looked at it and said, dang, he's probably trying to cancel or something. Me having integrity and me doing good business like I always do, you know, I picked up his call, he wanted to cancel, I was there the next day to pick up the machine. So when I went to pick up the machine, one of the things that he told me, he was like, hey, you're a very good salesman. It's nothing that you did wrong. I like the product. I'm just in a bad situation right now. But I want to say that I commend you for coming back to pick the machine up and even answering my call, because a lot of sales guys, you know, they go ghost. After you sell them the machine, you don't hear from them. And you know, the fact that you came to pick up the machine showed that I had a lot of integrity, and he liked that. So that stuck with him, you know. And then one thing that I did during that presentation when I was originally selling him the machine is I was just building a rapport, and I was telling him that I did real estate, you know. So I told him that, hey, I do real estate. I sell Retillos also, but I'm also a real estate investor. You know, I get people's houses sold. We buy and sell houses, you know. So he was like, all right, cool. You know, I'm thinking about selling my house in the future, but I'll always keep you in mind for sure. So I didn't think nothing too much of it. You know, I was more so at that time, I was more so worried about just selling that Retillo. You know, I just threw that out there that I did real estate, and then it stuck with him. You know, it resonated with him. And then the fact that I came the next day to pick up the machine, I did good business. I showed him that I had integrity. He told me that I was an honorable person, and we always just kept a good rapport after that, you know. It's fast forward to like 3 months later, he calls me randomly. You know, I get a call because I had saved his number. I pick up. He said, hey, man, how you doing? It's Daryl. I said, yeah, it's Daryl. He was like, yeah, this Mr. Lewis, man, like, you came and sold me that home care system a while back, man. And I was like, oh, yeah, I had your number. Say, Mr. Lewis, what's up, man? He was like, man, I'm actually thinking about selling my house, man. Did you say you do real estate? And I said, yes, I do, sir. Right then and there, you know, me being the closer I am, started getting all the information I needed. You know, I already had his property address. I said, you know, what's wrong with the property? What needs to be repaired, Mr. Lewis? So I'm doing my due diligence. I'm doing my fact finding. I'm making sure I got everything that I need, you know, to run numbers. I'm putting the numbers in on the calculator. So, you know, this is my biggest deal. But I'm going to tell you guys, one thing that I did on this deal is to get such a big spread is honestly, I just put it in my target profit. I didn't do nothing magical or spectacular. I just literally, when I was running the numbers, you know, normally my target profit is set at $20,000. So my goal is to try to make $20,000 on every deal. This year and then so forward, and just, you know, at that time, I just told myself, like, bro, it takes the same energy to offer someone to make it 50 bands than it is to make 5 or 10. So from now on going forward, I'm looking for nothing but $50,000 deals and better. And then if we aim for 50,000, if we don't hit the 50,000, at least we may get a 20 or a 30 ball or something. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things I did differently before I started running numbers, I switched my target profit from 20,000 to 50,000, and I went from there. You know. So then, boom, I plugged in all the numbers. I started running comps. This is a unique situation because since I had so much rapport with him, I was on the phone with him for about 2 hours till the docs got signed. We were just from running the numbers, you know, I'm looking on PropStream, I'm looking on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, I'm looking at retail values, I'm looking at comps that sold on the market over the last 3 to 6 months in the area. I'm like really doing some good due diligence, you know. So boom, you know, once I had all the information I need, I shoot him an offer, boom. He take the offer, right? Offered 270, you know. because I wanted him to walk away with something. I see he still had a small mortgage to pay off, a couple of debts on the property, but you always want your sellers to make money. You want to offer him a fair offer. My offer was way better than what he had been offered in the past by wholesalers, right? Which is why I love the retail buyer program, because we're able to give sellers fair offers. We're not just lowballing the heck out of them. So he took the 270. I seen the property was in decent shape. It needs a little bit of work, but the biggest thing is location. And I'm starting to learn that this year. I'm only getting leads in hot markets in good areas, y'all. I've done it all. I've made all the mistakes that I feel like I could make in real estate, right? And I feel like I got it so down packed now that I'm the best mentor that anyone can ask, because y'all can literally come in with no experience and I can get you to the finish line with the least resistance, because I've made the mistakes. You feel me? I've bought the leads nationwide and try to get, at that point, you're treating your business like how these sports bettors and these guys just put money on parlays. You gambling. We don't want to treat this real estate business like we're gambling, all right? Just gambling on leads. So I'm gonna spend more to get a lead in a good area, because location matters. This is the most important thing about real estate, and this deal taught me that, because this deal was in Temple Hills, Maryland. And if you guys know a little bit about the DMV, Temple Hills, Maryland is in Prince George's County. Prince George's County is one of the highest, wealthiest Black, predominant African American and minority areas in the whole nation. And not only that, it's close to the capital, right? DC is like 10, 15 minutes away, right? So location matters. In the DMV, there's a lot of high paying jobs. So a lot of people are willing to pay retail value for those properties because they know that it has a good upside in the future to appreciate due to the location. Maryland is a small area. The DMV is a metropolitan suburban area. It's growing. The property values are a lot higher, for what you can get. So that being said, I knew this was a great location. It was in my backyard. If y'all don't know, I'm from Maryland, so I was actually able to get feet on the ground, boots on the ground, pull up on the lead myself, and actually, do a lot of stuff hands-on that I normally don't do, because most of my deals I do virtually, right? But since this was only a 40-minute drive from my crib, I was able to pull up on the seller, do a lot of stuff in person, all right? So boom. So I got the property under contract. I was on FaceTime with him, everything, walking him through the documents. He had a lot of questions. Once the document was signed and executed on my end, boom, that's when the ball starts. Time to start marketing this thing. Now, I had to actually hold up on marketing the deal because he wanted to get the house ready. He felt like it wasn't as presentable. And since the house was going to be put on the MLS, he wanted it to be showed in the best light. So he said, look, Daryl, give me about 2.5, 3 weeks. I want to clean the property up, get it to a nice condition before, we go ahead and do this thing. So I had already had the contract locked up, but I had to wait a couple weeks to get the field agent out there to do the site survey. And if you guys don't know what that is a lot of my properties, I never go to the properties, okay? So there's a website called Investor Boots. If you guys don't have my course or my guide, or if you guys need mentorship, link down below. I'm not trying to ramble y'all with that, but I know a lot of people are gonna ask a lot of questions or may have questions. So the best thing to do is DM me on Instagram, pay for mentorship, pay for the RBP course so you can learn how this same method that I used to make 50,000, right? So just, like I said, tap in. But long story short, back to what I was saying. So I marketed the deal, okay? I had to, use Investor Boots to go do the site survey. So when I sent him out there, I had to schedule it out 3 weeks prior because he had to clean the property. So when the day finally came for them to go do the site survey, which is getting the pictures of the property, doing the walkthrough, I was actually, caught off guard because I had forgot. I was like, dang, woke up, oh, today's the site survey day, cool. So boom, they went out there, did the site survey, got the pictures. I paid $239 for the HD quality pictures from Investor Boots, all right? I start doing that now on the better houses because it's all marketing at the end of the day. So you want to show the property in the best light. So I paid $239 for the Investor Boots photos, HD quality pictures, and then I paid for the listing. All right. So boom. Once I had that, I'm already a couple $100 in the deal without even making any money yet, right? Boom. But once we get the joint on the market, the first day, it's not even 24 hours on the market, my phone starts ringing, so I'm getting showing requests. So I think we did about 4 showings. It didn't sit on the market long. Before we actually had a signed offer, it was on the market 16 days, right? Which is about 2 weeks. So it was amazing. The fact that the phone was ringing and there was a lot of showings, I already knew it was going to get sold. I did not have to do any price reductions. I got a full asking offer. I listed the property for $345. It was a great deal for the area, the location, the value. I knew that this was a banger, right? And I just had to see it through the finish line. So, boom, we get the offer finally. You know, after a couple of walkthroughs and showings, we had a serious retail buyer make an offer. Once we got under contract with that retail buyer, now that, you know, we're just waiting for the closing day, you know. So I call the seller, I'm giving him the good news. I say, hey, look, we secured a retail buyer, closing date is this, do this, you know. He's happy, I'm happy, retail buyer's happy. But there's like a little bit of hiccups on the deal. So, you know, the lender was a little bit strict. They needed certain things done. One of the biggest things is the house was like really junky, right? So I did have to come out of pocket on this property, $900, because I went on Facebook Marketplace. I found someone to do junk removal and junk hauling because he had a lot of stuff in the backyard that needed to be taken. So I hit someone up on Facebook Marketplace, negotiated with them. They said, boom, $700, they'll do it. I felt like it was fair for the amount of work. So they came out there with the truck, got all that stuff. Hey, shout out to that company, y'all. Dang, I forgot the name. I want to give y'all a shout out, but shout out to y'all for y'all services. You know, I may put y'all stuff down in my comments. If you're in the DMV area and y'all need junk removal, they did a good job. So they got that done. They did have to come back out the next day because after the retail buyer did another walkthrough, they said they still needed some more things removed from the property. Like they wanted it fully cleared. So I paid the guys another $200 to come back out. So now I'm $900 in on just the cleanup of the property as far as the junk hauling and removal, okay, and move out of the property. So being the fact that the seller did the retail buyer program, I pay this out of pocket. Our company or whoever is doing the deal, if you're doing the deal, you would pay that out of pocket. And that's one of the biggest benefits for a seller, because let's say a seller is going with a local realtor or doing it the traditional way, they would have had to come out of that money out of pocket, right? So the seller at the time, he definitely didn't have the money to have to spend to do that. So the fact that our company, BME Home Buyers, BME Realty, BME Distributing, the fact that the BME was able to actually handle that process for the seller, it alleviated a lot of stress. Because he kept telling me, he was like, dang, man, I was really stressing about how I was going to get all this stuff out, man. You made that happen like that. And, you know, that's the glory of being a millennial, you know. We're tech savvy, you know. I was able to utilize Facebook Marketplace, social media to get it done right then and there. Because had I let the seller do that on their own, it probably would have delayed things. It probably wouldn't have closed on time. So I'm glad I, you know, took action and was proactive about that. So I got everything cleaned out. I spent $900 to get the property cleaned out. Property looks spick and clean, you know. Now we're just waiting on closing day, you know. So it was originally supposed to close on the 30th. Since I got everything done, they moved the closing up to the 23rd, which was great. Most of the time I get closings pushed back. So to get a closing actually pushed forward, this was a first for me. So I was ecstatic. So they pushed the closing to the 23rd. Everyone signed on the 23rd. But since it was the 23rd and it was around the holidays, Christmas Eve and stuff, I actually didn't get dispersed and funded till the 30th. But the 30th is when the deposit hit. I made $52,000 on this deal. Originally the HUD said $53,000, but the seller had to take, I think, the washer or something. So I had to renegotiate with the buyer. So I gave her $1,000 in concessions out of the RBP payoff to cover, you know, a little bit of extra miscellaneous things that was needed at close. So, long story short, all right, why do I love RBP? My seller was happy. Walked away with good money. He was happy. He had a great Christmas. He actually got funded and dispersed before I did. My bank just didn't let me get my deposit till the 30th, but he had got his right before Christmas, so he had a great Christmas. The retail buyer was happy, right? They got a good deal on the property. It's a good property, great location. They have great vision of what they want to do to the property. I know they're going to definitely turn that property up and it's going to look great. Me, I'm happy, okay? I made my biggest deal so far. It was a warm lead. It was a lead that I got actually from a previous person that I did business with through a completely different industry and business. I mean, it just goes to show that, you know, you want to don't be a undercover investor or a real estate person, you know. Let people know you do real estate. Let friends or family know. Because this was a referral just for me literally saying, hey, I do real estate, you know. And someone remembered that. And then they remembered that I had integrity. I did good business. So I was able, it paid forward, you know, later. So one of the biggest things that I learned is, what if I would have never answered his call when he wanted to cancel that Rotillo, right? And what if I would have tried to duck his call and be a sleazy salesman? I would have never ran into this deal. So always have integrity, y'all. Do the right thing, you know, and it's gonna come back tenfold, you know. I was able to get this deposit right before New Year's Eve, and then the next day, I take a trip to Colombia, you know. So that's the glory of real estate. You know, I'm able to close deals in different countries and take trips to different countries. I actually have a deal closing today. Staying consistent, closing deals. You know, I want all y'all to tap in with me. I love my subscribers. I love all the people that hit me up on Instagram. I get a lot of DMs. A lot of y'all have closed y'all first deals just from watching my videos. So it's amazing to see that, you know, my videos don't even get millions of views, but it's crazy the impact that these few hundred or thousand people that are watching, the ones that actually take action, y'all changing y'all lives, man. So I salute all y'all who tapping into real estate. If you don't know about RBP and you want to learn how to do the RBP, hit me up on Instagram. Listen, y'all, I'm not no course seller guy, but I'm letting you know now. Buy that RBP course. It's going to change your life. Honestly, I feel like it's too low value. You know, I think it's like $4.97 I got it there for. Like, this shit really should be 10 bands, you know? Like, I've helped a lot of people make their first 5 figures and people going into making 6 figures just off of learning this method, because wholesaling is cool, y'all, but I think it's really outdated having to sit there and reach out to cash buyers and do all that old school stuff when we can have a fully inbound method where the retail buyers are coming to us, the motivated sellers are coming to us, you know. So one thing I'm gonna do this year for 2026 is I'm going to focus on better areas. I'm gonna stop being cheap. You know, at first I was looking at $200 for a countywide lead as a lot of money. But if you could spend $200 for a lead in a great area and make $50,000 in 30 days, it's worth it. Versus getting a lead in a rural area and having to keep it on the market for 6 months. You guys see what I'm saying? So, long story short is, look, invest into yourself this year. I wish a lot of people success. We're gonna close a whole bunch more deals this year. My goal this year is I want to get a 6-figure real estate deal. You know, I've already made $50,000, so I'm halfway there. The next goal is to hit a 6-figure deal, all right? So I'm gonna see y'all on the next video. Shout out to y'all for tapping in with me, and y'all know we're gonna be on the next video, all right? Fucking good at the top of the moon, slut her out on the edge like Simone, fucking good, got